Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my first impressions plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Ace 15 Plus Primeknits. Now inside the box they do include a string bag to go along with the shoes themselves. The string bag is made from a perforated mesh material, orange in color. You have black strings, you have the Primeknit logo in black going down the side, and then your Adidas football branding right there at the bottom. Other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at what is essentially a Primeknit upper variation of the Ace 15.1 that they're calling the Ace 15 Plus Primeknit. Now in today's video, we are of course going to go over the tech specs, the material of the upper itself, because it is a fair bit different from the standard Ace 15.1. We're going to talk about weight, we're going to talk about how these things fit and feel, and essentially cover everything you need to know about this brand new model from Adidas. So if you are interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, they are available now. You can check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. And on that page, you will find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $275 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about what's on offer when it comes to performance with the Ace 15 Plus. Now, of course, in comparison to a regular Ace 15.1, this upper is made from Primeknit as opposed to being the standard control web synthetic material. Now, the difference in feel is pretty significant, mainly because the upper is completely different. So what is Primeknit for those that don't know? As the name would suggest, it is of course a knitted material for the upper. How is this similar to Nike's Flyknit technology? It's very, very similar. It's the same type of concept, but I would make the argument that Nike's Flyknit technology is a little bit further along than what Adidas has done with Primeknit thus far. This is a very, very straightforward kind of knitted material that simply acts as a base for this synthetic. It's definitely not the only element of the upper, whereas what you're going to find with a lot of the Flyknit models from Nike is that the actual structure and the stability and really all the performance elements of the upper itself are part of the actual Flyknit construction. They've knitted that particular element into the actual upper, where, like I said, with this shoe, really the knitted material is there for the visual effect. It does add some softness to the actual synthetic itself, but for the most part, it's kind of just the base material. It could have really been anything else, but obviously it is made from Primeknit. So what is the end result? It's an upper that feels a lot thinner than what you're going to find from the standard Ace 15.1. It definitely doesn't have that same padded sensation. This is definitely going to be more along the lines of a barefoot type of feel with just a very slight amount of padding. I will say that when I did put these on my feet, I noticed that there's not a lot of structure to the upper. You're going to find that this knitted material is pretty straightforward. It's nothing that you wouldn't expect to find on a pair of running shoes or anything like that. So it's a fairly open, not particularly tight knitted pattern, which, like I said, does make the shoe feel very soft and flexible on your feet. But you will notice, just from walking around in them even, that there is a fair amount of movement in the upper. It has that little bit of stretch from side to side, which I hope is not going to result in excessive amounts of rollover. But like I said, it doesn't feel particularly solid on your foot in terms of just being nice and kind of firmly structured, if that makes any sense. You get some structure through the midfoot here with these fused on Adidas stripes on the lateral and medial side, but in the forefoot and toe box area, there just isn't a lot of reinforcement other than pretty much what you see. You have a layer covering the pretty much entirety of the upper. It's basically a polyurethane layer, clear so you can see, of course, that Primeknit material on the underside. Then you have extra layers here going around the toe box area and of course around the lace holes for added durability, kind of in the high wear zones of the shoe. You're also going to find on the surface of the upper that it does have the non-stop grip dots, which are a little bit difficult to see because of the pattern and color on this shoe, but when I get up close, hopefully you guys can see those little dots that are scattered across the entire upper. So that's an element that is maintained coming from the standard Ace 15.1, but not necessarily something that's going to make or break your experience with the shoe. So like I said, you have that top layer of kind of a polyurethane coat. You have the mid layer of this kind of very loose knitted material, of course made from Primeknit. And then on the inside, you're going to find actually the standard mesh liner that you would normally get with a pair of Ace 15.1s. So really all they've changed here is just that middle layer of material, as opposed to being that kind of harder foam-like material. It's actually just a knitted Primeknit. So nothing too significant, but it does make a very big difference in terms of how the shoe fits and feels on your foot. As far as the lacing system is concerned, it does have the same general shape as a standard pair of Ace 15.1s. The laces are pushed to the lateral side of the foot ever so slightly. And then you have a tongue that is very much like the Adidas Primeknit 2, for those that can remember those purple and green shoes. I'm not a huge fan of the tongue. If there's one thing that I really would like to change on this shoe, it is the tongue element. You can see that they kind of copied the second Primeknit shoe, and that the tongue has little cuts for every spot where the laces kind of cross over. It looks pretty good, and I guess to a certain extent it's going to create a more uniform type of texturing across the entire upper when that part of the foot is making contact with the ball. But there's a couple things about this that I don't really like. The first is that it makes it a little bit difficult to actually tighten the laces, just because you don't really have much room on either side. The second thing I don't like about this tongue is it is made from Primeknit, but they just left it completely open, kind of didn't cover it. They didn't give it any structure. It's just a very thin kind of sock-like knitted material. This is basically what the upper would be without the extra reinforcement layers that they've added to give it actual structure. So this is very, very soft, which doesn't feel bad against your foot, but you'll notice that when you slide this shoe on, the tongue itself will bunch up on itself at the bottom, and you have to really be careful about how you put them on and make sure the tongue is sitting completely flat against your foot so you don't have any kind of hard spots where the tongue is folded over on itself. The other thing I don't like about all these little cutouts here is that it leads to the actual laces sitting directly against your foot, in all the parts where it actually goes under the surface of the tongue. So you can see going all the way down, you have all of that exposed lace, which isn't the most comfortable thing. It's not necessarily uncomfortable, but you will find, especially if you tie your shoes really, really tight, that you're going to get some lace bite, because essentially the laces are sitting directly against your foot, which, again, something I'm not personally too crazy about with this particular tongue design. But for the most part, it's not something that should be kind of an element that should stray you away from this particular shoe, unless of course all these things just sound really, really bad to you. It really just depends on what you like. But for me personally, I'm not crazy about the tongue on this shoe, but I can live with it at the end of the day. As far as the rest of the shoe is concerned, it is the same as a standard pair of Ace 15.1s. The heel is the same. It does have these extra kind of pads on the side with a little bit of texturing that really don't do anything for performance. It's got a nice deep fit in the back. It's got a smooth synthetic leather liner, which I find to be pretty comfortable. Step-in comfort is actually very, very good with the Primeknit Ace. I would say that they're more comfortable out of the box than what you're going to find with a regular pair of Ace 15.1, so that's definitely a positive thing. But we'll talk about that more a little bit later in the video. You do have a removable insole here. Again, exactly the same as what you're going to find on a regular Ace 15.1, just with the Primeknit branding there on the top. Mesh liner, perforations through the forefoot and midfoot. And it's just a single layer of this black foam. Nothing too crazy, but it does get the job done. You do have the same external heel counter right here. Shiny black in color. You can see it has kind of like a mirrored finish almost. And then of course on the bottom, it's a TPU plastic material, very, very flexible, and it is their ground control stud pattern that is of course very usable on both firm natural grass as well as artificial grass. It performs very, very well on both. And what I will say about using these on firm ground or natural grass is that the studs are slightly shorter, the main studs I should say, but you have all these studs in between. It still provides really, really good grip. You get plenty of bite. And the shoe feels nice and low to the ground. You have a good kind of balanced feel when running in these. They feel very natural because they're not overly stiff, especially with this more flexible upper as well. And again, in terms of traction, if you want to buy one pair of shoes to use on both firm natural grass as well as artificial grass, I really think that the stud pattern on the Ace line is the best for that type of application. So that is pretty much it in terms of tech specs and performance elements that you should know about the Ace 15 Plus Primeknit. And next we're going to move on to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. In terms of weight, you might expect the Primeknit version of the Ace 15.1 to weigh a lot less, or at least a little bit less, than the standard variation. Well, that's something we're going to find out right now by using this scale, weighing them both in real time. Keep in mind both of these shoes are in brand new condition and are both the exact same size 9 US. So this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the standard Ace 15.1, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.1 ounces, the equivalent of 257 grams. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Primeknit variation, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.35 ounces, the equivalent of 265 grams. So you're talking about a 0.25 ounce weight difference between the two, with the Primeknit variation actually being a little bit heavier. Is the weight difference significant? Absolutely not. It's a very small amount of weight. You're not going to notice a difference either in hand or on feet, but just know that if you are planning on buying the Primeknit variation of the Ace 15.1, that it isn't actually any lighter than the standard model. Aesthetically, I quite like the look of the Ace line in general, and the Ace 15 Plus Primeknit doesn't look too far off from the standard Ace 15.1. It has the same general shape. All of the elements are in the same spot, including the Adidas stripes. You got your Ace branding on the tongue. The main difference is the lack of that triangular pattern you'd find on a standard Ace 15.1 that's replaced with a knitted look in a bright orange color. This is, of course, Adidas' Solar Orange, and you have a couple different shades because the base Primeknit material is actually orange. Then you have translucent layers over top, and of course, the more layers, the darker it will get. So it's at its lightest here in the main portion of the upper. It's a little bit darker around the edge, and then it's even darker than that around the actual lacing system. So that's kind of to be expected with this type of material and just the way that they've actually reinforced it. But overall, it looks pretty cool. Definitely has a very modern, sleek look to it. I like the Adidas stripes right there in the middle on the lateral and medial side. They flow onto the sole plate. The back portion of the shoe is black, which looks really good. I like the look of the black tongue as well. And I just think the Ace line in general is a pretty good looking shoe, with the Ace 15 Plus Primeknit being no different. So let me know your opinions on it down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit, and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here is a look at the Ace 15 Plus Primeknits on feet. On my left foot I have the stock Solar Orange laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot I have a pair of black reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. Find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, I will make the argument that these feel more comfortable, especially from right out of the box, in comparison to the standard Ace 15.1. The upper is thinner and just noticeably softer and more flexible against your foot. It does have that sock-like sensation to a certain extent because the majority of the upper is made from a mesh-like or knitted material, which, like I said, feels really, really good. In terms of how it impacts touch and general performance, it's a completely different feel when compared to the regular Ace 15.1. It's much thinner, it's more of a barefoot feel, just a very slight amount of padding, and like I said, the upper doesn't feel quite as kind of well supported and quite as structured as what you're going to find from the regular Ace as well. So some rollover, some instability may be an issue depending on what you like. But if you're just looking for a more comfortable variation of the Ace 15.1 with, of course, that ground control FG-AG stud pattern, this is definitely one of those shoes that you probably will like the feel of. In regards to fit, it does have the same general shape as the Ace 15.1. It's got a nice deep fit to it, but they do seem to be a little bit wider, I would argue, so they're going to be suitable for pretty much everybody. You're not really going to get much stretch out of the upper through the midfoot because of those Adidas stripes that are fused to the upper, but the rest of the shoe I definitely could see stretching a little bit, kind of similar to what you got with the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 1. In regards to sizing, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So again, just like the regular Ace 15.1, the Primeknit variation runs true to size. So if you are looking to get a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going for your normal size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Alright guys, that's it for my first impressions of the Adidas Ace 15 Plus Primeknits. Expect to see more content on this shoe on the channel in the very near future. In the meantime though, if you guys want to check out the review page on my website, that'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. You will find high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself that'll give you a better idea as to how these actually do look in person, as well as buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $275 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, First link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding this particular shoe, leave them down below in the comment section, and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.